Any dirt on this guy?
Yeah, don't call on him.
Okay, I have been asking. I asked Kayla. So far, she said, how much time do you have?
Yeah, right.
So I am really glad to have you guys here today for shift and have been looking forward to talking with you.
Yeah.
It's been a long time.
It has been. Like I said in my sermon this morning, since mid-July, since we first sat down. Oh, I need my microphone on.
Yeah.
You all can hear me, but I suppose they can't hear me through the camera. Yes, it's been since mid-July since that first conversation. So it's amazing how quickly time flew, but also it's been a long time since that first conversation, and so I'm grateful that the day has finally come.
So kind of taking off your sermon today,
Yeah.
Did you hear God calling you?
Yeah. So I don't know how familiar everybody is with the call process of pastors, but there's a lot of ways that it can go where somebody could pick up the phone and actually call you and say, hey, have you considered, or like, would you be willing to consider a call or a new call? And then you can say no, or yeah, I hadn't thought of it, but maybe. Or you can submit your own profile and kind of enter into the call process. And so back in February, we had kind of thought, the time, things are like, I'm feeling kind of tugged, and it wasn't for any negative reason about where I was coming from. It just felt like with our kids the age they were, and with just I don't know, some other spiritual things that were going on, I just kind of felt like this was the timing. And so we entered into the process in February. And so as you all know, it's been a long process for you all getting from Brian and the interim and all those sorts of things. It has been almost an equally long process for me and my family as well, as we've discerned this call. And so yeah, then as things start to kind of narrow down and you go through this process and hear of churches and things like that, as soon as I saw the profile from Trinity, I thought, that would be a pretty wonderful place to end up. And so the process is twofold. I have to be called and they have to call me and that sort of thing. But it felt as if it narrowed in, that there was something else going on other than just the human action in it. That there was that God was leading at least me towards this place, and I felt the same way the other way around. So yeah.
What do you think, intrigued you about Trinity? Sure.
Well, I mean, we had wanted to end up back in this area. It was not our intention necessarily to end up 10 minutes from where I grew up. But again, that's kind of the wonderful way that the Spirit leads. But as we went through the process, I mean, I think an important thing for you all to hear is that the call committee really felt like a good representation of the cross sections of the church. You had a lot of different generations of people on the call committee, and people who had been here for a long time, and people who were just kind of beginning their time with Trinity. And so that in itself was a really good, was a kind of, if we're going to use the word attractive, that was a kind of an attractive thing, because it showed me something that John Sweeney mentioned quite often throughout the thing, was the intention of the new senior pastor and of Trinity going forward was to emphasize intergenerational ministry, that there had to be this way of connecting our generations throughout the ministry. And so coming from a place that really did a lot of good work in intergenerational ministry, I wanted to make sure that a place that I was going had that same kind of intention. I'm a youth and family guy. I went to seminary and had that focus in my studies. And so the youth and family programs were obviously something that was intriguing to me. I also really was, I think that there is a really good foundation here of outreach and looking outside the building. And I think we always can do better, and we can always build on the things that are there, but it's hard to move a community of people that don't already have that foundation to look outside the building. And I think that foundation is already here. And so those were kind of the like three main things that really made me think this might be a good place for me to end up, and a good opportunity to do this kind of ministry together. So.
And like you said, you're 10 minutes away. So,
Yeah.
so little Adam is growing up in Plymouth.
Right. Yes, I grew up in Plymouth. I've been telling people quite often that I grew up in Plymouth, so I grew up in this area, but I didn't often come more west than Plymouth. And so Long Lake and Orono was not a place that I spent a whole lot of time. Every once in a while would end up on Lake Minnetonka or in downtown Wayzata, because that was sort of an extension of the school district I was in Plymouth, but never very often hopped on 12 and came west, or hopped on or went west on 6. I went as far as usually like I don't know, some of those neighborhoods by the lake there, and then like, oh whoops, I missed a turn or something like that. So didn't spend a whole lot of time out this way, other than I played in the Orono ice rink a few times. So
Defeated.
Yeah, right. No way.
Oh.
I mean, you brought it up, Jerry.
I did. The blue,
you want me to,
blue and gold.
You want me to talk? We can get into talking smack. I don't want to quite yet.
All right.
I don't want to quite yet. But so yes, this is a familiar area to us, and that has actually been really vital to us. Because we're, like I said this morning, we're living with my parents, and things, that part of it doesn't when you're doing that, the part of feeling settled and is a little bit challenging.
Time to get up, Adam. It's time to get up.
Yes, that's right. Well, if my mom does that, we got problems. We might be not living with my parents after that. So that part, it makes it difficult to feel settled, but because we're familiar with the area, it does feel more settled than could be. So.
Yeah. Did you have siblings?
I do have siblings. A sibling. I have a younger brother named Jordan. He is roughly 4 years younger than me. He just a couple of years ago graduated with a teaching license, and so now he's a teacher, first grade, I think. First grade teacher at an elementary school in Andover, and is loving that. So he was, prior to that, an EMT and firefighter, so he lives in Maple Grove, so he's close by as well.
Great.
Yeah.
And what led you into the ministry?
Oh, wow. I would say there's probably two primary influences. The first that I used often, although I didn't know him that well, because I only got to know him until I was 13. My grandpa was a Presbyterian pastor. And so there was influence there, of course, being intrigued by that and wanting to know more about that. But he died when I was 13, and so we never really got to have those adult conversations about faith and growing up in the church, which, of course, I lament constantly, because I just would have been he was a brilliant man, and attended Union Theological Seminary in New York. And so, I mean, he was just an academic, brilliant man, and so I wish I could have more in-person conversations with him over the years. But then beyond that, I grew up in a church that I often say, you all know, Wayzata is a behemoth of a school. And so in a lot of ways, you get a small group of friends, but you're a number of a very large number. And so it's hard to find places where you belong. You find them in some ways, but it doesn't always feel like a very strong belonging, or at least didn't for me. And so church was the first place that I really felt like I belonged. And so then as I grew up and got older going to church, I started to shift my priorities to being involved in church more. And so I was driving from Plymouth to South Minneapolis to Mount Olivet, 4 times a week, twice on Sundays. I mean, I was making, it was a big commitment, but it was an important one for me because it really did feel like the place where I truly belonged. And so I have always wanted for others that same feeling that I had.
Yeah.
And I think churches are a great arena for that kind of belonging. And so that's kind of been what has called me to it, is if I can give to other people a sense of belonging to something that is transformational for their life, then I want to be a part of that. And this happens to be like I said, the arena for that and the calling that I have. So.
Wow, I didn't know you would, so Mount Olivet, South Minneapolis?
Yes.
Yeah, yeah.
Not the Plymouth one, which of
Right.
course would have made sense,
That
right?
would have been
'Cause growing up in
close.
Plymouth.
Yeah.
But no, not
Yeah.
the one just down the street. We got my mom went there when she was younger and
Sure.
lived in the Minneapolis area, and so
Yep.
that's where we got connected right away. And at one point, my mom did ask us as kids if we wanted to switch to a church that was closer by, and we
Yeah.
just we didn't want to, and so that we stayed connected there, and it was really good.
Yeah, yeah. I spent some time there myself.
Oh, yes,
and,
okay.
Yeah, it's a good place.
There are lots of people who spend a certain amount of time there or have some sort of connection. It's also a behemoth.
It is.
Weird that I talk about the behemoth of Wayzata High School and then talk about going and feeling belonging at also one of the biggest Lutheran churches.
It is, yeah.
So,
but you can find your
Yes.
place. So did you go to Cathedral of the Pines?
I did, yes.
Yeah.
Camping ministry was a huge, that was part of the reason why we didn't want to switch to another church, was because of the church camp,
Yeah.
Cathedral of the Pines, that Mount Olivet has. And
Yeah.
that's a formational, that basically is it right there. I mean, that camp is something that made me become who I am and what I am today. So I'm grateful for it.
Yeah, and a lot of us, I think, have attended camps, and when we're that age, it's especially meaningful,
Yeah.
and I think impactful as
Yeah.
well. So from there, from seminary,
Yeah, from seminary, I graduated seminary in 2013. After I started seminary after a little stint as a youth director at St. Andrew in Eden Prairie, that was if we're talking about feeling called by God, that was kind of a moment of feeling. I actually looked at an old sermon for this same text that we had this morning, and I wrote about this feeling of being called clearly by God because I had started seminary while I was still working, and then I was laid off from that position right before about a week before the second semester was about to start at Luther, and I was going to take some time off and just breathe and settle in because that was hard. And then I got laid off, and I really did. I felt like God was calling me to start seminary full time. Everything sort of came together through all these people at Luther, and by the time the second semester started, I was on campus and taking classes. So I finished seminary as if I had started in 4 years. And then in 2013, I was called to Holy Cross Lutheran Church in Sioux Falls, South Dakota, and I was there for 2 years. It was a difficult call. There were some issues that happened right as I started. Not my issues, but I was thrust into them, and was pretty well beat up after a couple years. And so I decided that I needed to do something else. And then was through a mutual friend kind of connected with Painesville Lutheran Church, and we went to that interview, and we weren't really intending to end up in small town Minnesota, but again, the Spirit and God work in ways that we are not always in tune with. And it was a fantastic place for me to discover again my calling, because I wasn't entirely sure I wanted to keep doing it after those first 2 years. And so it was a great place to not only be, to kind of heal, but also then to thrive and to grow.
So what's your approach here? I think this morning you talked a lot about listening.
Sure. Yeah.
But you've also got some results from where we are now, here we are now, all those kinds of things. You had your first council meeting this week.
Yeah.
You had a jam-packed week, actually.
It was a jam-packed week, and also crammed in awaiting COVID test results. So that's not really the way I drew up the first week, but that's the way it goes. I mean, the approach here. I mean, it would be unfair for me to cast a vision right now for the future of Trinity, because while I do know quite a bit through the call process, there is just nothing. There's no way that you can mimic actually knowing a place by being a part of it. And so, the approach for probably a year at minimum is to just be a part of things and listen to stories and get a sense of the place before I can do any sort of approach to anything else. And so we're gonna, but I do know. So that's the primary way for me to go forward. But I also know that the last 18 months have been a really difficult challenge for people within a congregation, but also staff members of a congregation, for pastors, for leaders. And then add a pastoral transition into that, and welcoming new staff, and there is healing that needs to be done for lots of different reasons, for COVID, but also for saying goodbye to Brian and saying goodbye to John, and welcoming new staff and figuring all those things out. And so my hope is that we can spend some time healing. We're all broken, and I'm not saying that as a sense of like, this is a really broken place, but this is a time where we need to acknowledge that brokenness and acknowledge the pain that has come through all of these transitions, and try to heal together so that we can all kind of get on the same page and move forward together. But we're not going to do that by just ignoring that part of it. So that's my goal with the staff, but also with the congregation, is to hear those stories and hear where people are at, so that we can actually enjoy and feel the energy and the goodness of what's to come, rather than holding on to those things that we've never dealt with.
That sounds pretty smart, doesn't it? Yeah. I wanted to open it up to some questions, comments. So I am ready for you guys. I can tap dance until we do. Okay. Hi, Susie.
You're going to like this. I met you the other day, and welcome to Trinity.
Thank you.
And I just want to make a comment. I love your orange socks.
Thank you.
I was going to
Thank
ask,
you.
who picked them out?
I did. I'll just tell you a quick story, and I know that some of you have tuned in to as Troy mentioned often throughout the call process, what a gift it was to be able to watch sermons online and see worship services from other churches, but especially for you all, if you did that to yourselves, watching my sermons and worship. But on my last Sunday at Painesville Lutheran, my colleague made part of the gift that he gave me was a bunch of socks, because I had started a tradition with him that I bought each of us a pair of socks on Easter as kind of fun, whimsical socks, as kind of a way to celebrate the joy of that day. So this is one of those pairs, kind of those whimsical, fun socks, and now I have lots of them because he gave me a box full of them. So you'll see all sorts of goofy socks. I don't know. I didn't know that I was becoming a sock guy, but I'm a sock guy. So, yeah.
Yes, Mark is also a sock guy.
Mark's a
and
sock
so-
guy? All right.
Yeah.
Mark, consider yourself part of the tradition then. I got to find someone else to do this with.
Yeah.
And goofy socks? All right.
Mark has like Sock of the Month Club, so you are in
Yes.
for it.
I love it.
Yeah, this is the sort of stuff we do, Sock
love
of the
it.
Month Club.
Well,
So
thank you.
I have well, I know, you went to Gustavus. Gustavus it's kind of a fun-loving place. It's not like Concordia Moorhead where we study hard and, we do well.
I just want to make clear, we studied hard at Gustavus, but we also had fun. You can do both. I mean,
Oh.
that's what we got
you
to tell these
kidding?
we got to tell these Concordia students that no, I'm just kidding.
We are.
You can do both. It's possible. Just kidding.
So you were in Glee Club?
I was in what?
Glee Club, like the show, like Glee?
Oh, I was not in Glee Club. No.
You didn't make it, or what?
They didn't. We didn't have Glee Club at Gustavus. Do they have that at Concordia?
Not that I know of.
I mean, yeah, no, I wasn't in Glee Club. I mean, I was in lots of different things, but.
What were you in?
Well, I was, from the arts perspective, I was a part of the Gustavus choir and the chapel choir all throughout my years there.
So he sings.
So I sing. I was a stage actor, so I was in 6 or 7 main stage shows at Gustavus. So I mean.
You're an actor.
Yes. So I did both of those. I did both of those things. I was in a fraternity for good or bad, whatever that is. But with Mr. Gavin over here was in my fraternity, so there's a connection there. What else? Epsilon Pi Alpha. Eppies. Yes.
And
I was in
Eppies. So
yeah.
we do have some Gustavus, yeah.
Yes, right. So those
Gustavus here.
Gustavus people among you that are among us, you know that group. Yeah. So other than that, I mean.
Yeah.
Pastor Adam, I just want to tell you, you really related to the children this morning. I was sitting right in front, and they were all listening. Sometimes they don't always listen.
Sure.
But anyway, you did a great job.
Thank you.
You're
Thank you. It's that is a highlight of my mornings is to do that with young people. And you saw that my daughter was very engaged. She's more than comfortable that Dad is pastor. So that we'll have to see how that goes in the future. But
And his daughter's name is Kayla. No, his daughter's name is Madeline. Sorry,
Madeline, wife
his
is
wife.
Kayla. Yeah.
I'm Jenny Eastman, and I've gone to Trinity since 2nd grade.
Oh wow.
So if you need any advice or whatever.
Advice, yeah, that's good. All right.
My question is 2-part.
Sure.
How long have you been married, and
Sure.
how did you meet your wife?
Great. I have been married 9 years, so we'll be we're looking forward to number 10 next September. And Kayla and I met at Gustavus. We had a class together my senior year and her junior year. And that was about the extent of our interactions with each other in the 4 years that I was at Gustavus. But I came back for homecoming after my senior year, so the fall of her senior year. And we were at Patrick's for some festivities. And for some reason, neither of us really know the answer. For some reason, we were excited to see each other. After just that only sharing one class together in college, for some reason we saw each other and remembered each other's names and were excited to see each other. And I got her phone number and she got some of her birthday cake because it was her birthday that weekend, and the rest is history, kind of. It's hard to explain, but it worked out. And so that was kind of how we came to be together. And so it has been wonderful. I'm grateful for that. I'm grateful for the ways that those serendipitous things happen. Yeah.
And where is Kayla from?
Kayla is from Worthington, Minnesota, way down in the southwest corner. So I like to joke that she's basically from Iowa. Yeah. It's way the heck down there. Do you know how far away that is?
It is
It's
far.
man.
That's a turkey country,
It's a
isn't it?
long ways
Yeah.
away down there, but
Yeah.
beautiful, beautiful town, and
Yeah.
so her parents still live down there, and one of her grandparents. So
And you have 2 children.
2 children, Madeline and Simon, 4 and 1.5.
And Madeline is at Trinity Preschool.
She is, and Simon, it looks like, is being pushed around in a car out there. I think. Is that right? Yeah. Good.
And they, of course, are both darling, and we look forward to
Thank you.
to getting to know them better. I am so glad that you're here,
Yeah.
and I know that's the case for all of us.
Yes. Thank you. Yeah.
And we look forward to getting to know each other better. And go Trinity!
Woohoo! Thank you all. I appreciate it. It's really great to be here, and I'm looking forward to the days ahead. So great to meet you all, and I'm looking forward to even more. Do I play pickleball was the question. I have played pickleball, and I would love to play pickleball. So, and my goal in my time here is to get so good at pickleball and table tennis that I can beat Troy at both of them. He didn't know that he was laying down a challenge when he said that I probably couldn't beat him, but now we're gonna try, okay? I'm too competitive for that. So, thank you. You're pickleballers here. All right, we're gonna do it. Thank you, everyone. Yep. Thanks, Jerry.